Hi everyone, welcome to another Warhammer 3 tier list, where today we're going to be looking at the Frenchies of Bretonnia. Just like any other tier list, this is going to be excluding all of the heroes and lords, as well as any unique units that the Bretonnians have, which, as far as I'm aware, they don't have any unique. The way the tier lists are going to go is bottom tier is trash, don't recruit them, they're useless to you. D tier, they hit below your weight class, their weight class. C tier, they perform exactly how they're supposed to. B tier, they will hit above their weight class. A tier, you want to recruit them or keep them in your armies. And Doomstack is kind of self-explanatory. You want to build armies with these guys, pretty much. And the first one we're going to look at is the, unsurprisingly enough, the peasant mob. It's kind of self-explanatory. It's a trash unit. They're supposed to be like a meat shield, but the problem is they have such low leadership, such low attack and defense that they can't really even be a good meat shield. I would say Skaven slaves are better than this guy, because at least Skaven slaves have the maneuverability and the zombies have tankiness. Don't recruit these guys. And another reason why you shouldn't recruit these guys is a kind of a Bretonnian campaign mechanic. I usually don't go over the mechanics in the tier list because I kind of throw some things off, but I kind of feel like this is kind of a glaring thing. This is just the start of the campaign, and this will be part of our overview as well, but I'm just going to kind of point out why it's really bad to like recruit really bad units. You got something called the peasant economy. Pretty much, for each settlement you control, you can get another 2 peasant units, and generally a peasant unit is a dismounted unit. As you can see, we're at 3 out of 8 for our starting army. Once you start recruiting more, your farms will start making less income, which is like your main economic source. So you don't really want to spam like the peasant mobs, because they're gonna do you more harm than good in the long run. So like they're just like trash. You literally can't make an entire army of peasant mobs early game. If you could, there's still stability in trash tier. Don't recruit them, please. It will save yourself a lot of headache. Next is the men at arms with swords. Another pretty trash unit. They have swords. They're slightly better than peasant mobs, but not by much. Crap leadership, crap stats. It's kind of one of the things, if you're forced to recruit them, it is what it is, but don't go out your way to get them. And next is the peasant, not peasant mob, sorry, the spearmen at arms. Another trash unit, honestly. I would say they are slightly better than everybody else in the trash tier because they have the anti-large and slightly better defense. But it's like +4, while these guys have better melee stats. It is what it is. Next is the sword men at arms with shields, and they actually do have a fairly decent shield. As weird as that sounds. Got it here, please. They have a 55% chance. 55% chance of small arms missile fire protection, which is kind of crazy. Empire doesn't have that great a shield. Kind of obnoxious by all means. So I'm gonna kind of put them in D tier, barely out of trash, but they'll perform a little better. I still wouldn't really recommend recruiting these guys. Next is the spearmen at arms with shields, and they do an okay job at holding the line. They do have a bonus versus large, except they are one of the worst spear units in the game. But they kind of perform exactly how you want them to, but barely. So I'm gonna kind of put them at C tier, just because they can kind of hold a front line. Not really, but they kind of can do a pretty decent job for the Bretonnian roster. Next is the Grill Relic, whatever. It's pretty much a meme unit. It's the corpse cart, but like worse, significantly worse. It's a single small entity. They are very slow, And the buffs they provide isn't too bad. The problem is the AI likes to target them. And if the AI didn't target them as much, it wouldn't be bad. But like for instance, they got a speed of 40. They have leadership +8, melee attack +5, and immune to psychology for all allies within range, which isn't bad because the Bretonnians really suffer from the low leadership. Uh, it can also have Blessings of the Lady, which is 15% damage resistance, but these guys' stats are so bad that they really don't do very good in combat. And they get Frenzy, which usually I would say Frenzy would push a unit above a tier, but it's just bad at combat. Like if it gave Frenzy to like nearby units, but with like a really short radius, I would say that would be a worthwhile unit to have. It's much better than the previous version. If I'm mistaken, I think the previous version just did leadership. I still wouldn't recruit. Next is the pole arms, which are the kind of the Empire's version of the Hellbeards. They got decent armor piercing, really good anti-large as well. The problem is they don't have shields. They do have okay melee defense. I would honestly put these guys at C tier still. They don't really perform that what they can do. Still crap leadership. They do got some AP and bonus for just a large. It's just they will kind of lose a lot of battles on their own because their stats are just kind of bad across the board. Like, they're barely upgrades if you want to compare them to the Spearman at Arms with Shields. And they're still considered a tier 1. Warhammer has a weird way of labeling stuff like that. Next is the battle programs with shields. Now, they actually do have a worse shield, but they have Frenzy. I don't think they necessarily hit above their weight class, but I would kind of consider them a frontline unit later in the game because they can kind of handle themselves a little better. I'm sorry, they got better shields now. They got 55 shields. They used to have worse shields. But that Frenzy kind of boosts them up, and they're not too expensive. They get a little less melee defense, but the rest of their stats are pretty decent. They're still considered a peasant unit though. Just that Frenzy is just really nice on them. I don't think they hit above their weight class. Once again, it's kind of the Bretonnian roster. The Foot Squires are kind of the same thing. They're like the Great Empire Great Swords, but just much worse. It's just same speed. They have less melee attack, less melee defense, and I believe they actually have equal weapon strength compared to the Great Swords. I don't know why, but every time I use the Foot Squires, they struggle in fights. I don't really know why. Maybe it could be me misusing them, but they don't hit above their weight class. They do what they need to. I would kind of prioritize honestly the battle programs over them because they do have that shield and they have a little better of a front line. I mean, they do have a bonus for Infantry and AP. And next is the Battle Pilgrims Renown. Honestly, these guys are pretty good. Put them at B tier. They're just a little better. I don't think they're crazy good, but they're just like slightly better than the regular Battle Pilgrims. Kind of the reason for that is they got magical attacks, flaming attacks, as well as a bonus versus infantry. They actually got really good stats and immune to contact effects as well. Usually I kind of view the flaming attacks as a debuff, but since they got the magical attacks on top of that, not too bad. I definitely think with their juice up stats, they perform better. I wouldn't necessarily prioritize putting them in your army. And the same kind of goes for the, I wish I could, not gonna try to say these names too much. The Beast Slayers at Bastalone, kind of they just have juiced up stats. The only difference is they have Hellbeards, so they're more of an anti-large variant. But honestly, they're actually really good. I would probably put them above the pallet battle programs. I a part of me wants to put them in A tier because it's always good to have this unit, but it's a good emergency unit, so it's like I don't really want to just throw them in any army. Next is just the peasant archers. Really cheap, really good range, and you can get them pretty early. I honestly would say they hit above their weight class. This is pretty much going to be your damage dealing unit besides Cav. As long as like your front line would kind of hold, they'll kind of do okay. I just will put them in B tier because they're actually pretty good for what they do. The flaming arrow variant I will put down a tier lower because once again I find the flaming arrows to be a weakness in general, because there's not too many factions that take that debuff really, except for Nurgle and Vampire accounts. The pox arrows on the other hand are a lot better. They have the poison arrow attacks instead of the fire. So I generally find that pretty good. I will usually run a mixture between the peasant bowmen with pox arrows and regular peasants, unless I'm fighting against like undead specifically. Then I will bring fire arrows. Not very often though. Not for most Bretonnian spawns. Next is the mounted yeomen, and they're pretty much like your peasants but mounted. They're a really light, fast cav, but I personally think they underperform quite badly. They struggle even like going after like archer or ranged units. I don't know if that's just bad melee stats or really what's going on, or if they're not charging properly. Next is the Knights Errant, and that's like your next tier of cav. Knights Errants are honestly B tier. They perform really well. Could put you, you know, I'm gonna put you in front because there we go. Knights Errants are just really good. Better than Empire Knights in my opinion because they're much faster and they are more maneuverable. They do have a little less armor. And the Regiment Renown unit is really good to have. I would probably put them in A tier. See if I can say the name of the Regiment Renown unit. Defenders of the Fleur de Lis. Yeah, we're gonna pretend I said that right. But yep, these guys are have anti-infantry as well as frenzy, and I love frenzy. I don't know if there's a bug in this game or what, but you will notice a lot of cav will say they are anti-infantry, but they don't have the weapon strength to show it. I don't know what's going on with that. That's kind of weird. But they also do get Blessings of the Lady, which is like 15% damage resistance when their leadership is hard broken, and they have a immune to psychology area when they're charging, so they can kind of help out the peasants. They also won't rout when they see peasants routing either, but their leadership is so good that it doesn't really matter. I mean, 60 leadership for like barely a tier 2 cav. Next is the Knights of the Realm, and I kind of see them being way better than the regular ones. I will bring them together in junctions. The only difference is this is more of a shock cav. They are anti-large, but their charge is devastating. As you can see here, they do get the lance formation, which is mass plus 30%, acceleration plus 30%, charge 1 is 30%, charge speed 10%, and -8 melee defense. All the knights units get that. Generally, how I use them is I'll pop this on a charge, then turn it off if they're going to be in combat. They do get damage resistance 15%. And they actually do properly get a bonus versus large here. But they're mostly going to go after the infantry. Next is the Pegasus, regular Pegasus Knights. Another B tier. They are really good. They hit above their weight class. They're very fast and they're not gigantic, so they're really good at sniping things. Their issue is kind of prolonged combat. You don't really want them to stay in combat too long. They do also have, there we go. They do also have a bonus versus large, which is kind of weird. Don't really know why they do. But they also get Vanguard Deploy, which is very nice. I usually will bring a couple of these. Next is the Questing Knights, and they are one of your best melee cav. They are anti-infantry armor piercing. Extremely good. We're actually going to put them in front of the Regimental Renown unit because they are very nice to have. Once again, the anti-infantry, but you don't actually see the anti-infantry tag. Don't know why that is, but still they got really good armor piercing. They want to stay in a fight and just shred everything. Problem is, cav kind of sucks when they're in prolonged fights, so of course you want to cycle charge them. Just keep in mind, cycle charging with cav is good. Next is the Knights of the Realm Renown version, which they are called the, let's see if I can say this name. Oh, Knights of the Lionhearted. Oh, that's pretty. And pretty much the only difference is magical attacks, really. And they do get cause fear, and they get encourage, which encourage is good to have. I don't necessarily think they hit too much hard in regular Knights of the Realm though. Good unit to have. I mean, a magical attacks is nice if you're sniping large entities that do have a high damage resistance or physical resistance, but they won't make or break an army. Make sure. Questing Knights Renown, we're gonna try and say their names. Extremely good. There. Let's see if I can't say it. The Companions of Guenellis. The kind of only main difference is got a little bit better stats. They are anti-large, right? Yeah, they're anti-large instead of being anti-infantry, which is kind of weird because they kind of use the same weapon. They get a better charge bonus, at least. No, they don't. They do have fire resistance, which is kind of weird. I didn't see anything else? No. It's kind of weird. These guys are really good fighters. I would keep them in your armies. Next is the Royal Pegasus Knights. Honestly, in our unit, you should have in your army. They are just up regular Pegasi. And pretty much the difference is these guys are living saints, anti-large and very fast. It's like how these are anti-large, very fast, and they have magical attacks as well. So pretty much what living saints means is they have perfect vigor, so they'll never tire. So they are very good at chasing down. Perform a lot better in combat too, in prolonged combat. I wouldn't keep them in combat. Another good thing about Pegasus Knights in general is they're very good at disengaging. They generally won't get stuck in combat, but it's not impossible. Next is the Grill Guardians, and this is like your top tier cav. They're also another living saint. They got magical attacks. I believe they only have 32 horses in their units, so they did kind of get a less of a number, but they're extremely strong. Magical attacks, armor piercing, perfect figure. They got the Lance Formation, damage resistance plus 15%. Honestly, I kind of wish that was juiced up more since, Living Saints a big deal. And they have the anti-infantry, but obviously it's not shown here. I don't know why. They forgot about the Bretonnians. I would say, honestly, every unit that has a Living Saints tag, I think, should have Barrier on them. I mean, Barrier and Cab is so good. Look at the scene. Next is the Rail Knights, and they're pretty much like Rail Guardians, except they're anti-large. Same exact thing. They are Living Saints as well. They do have some more units in there. Some more guys in their unit. They're at 48. Magical attacks. They do have the proper bonus versus large as well as AP with the perfect figure as well. And next is the Royal Hippogriff Knights. And I'm not gonna really put these guys at Doomstack because they are a flying unit, and it's kind of hard to Doomstack a unit that's just all flying for obvious reasons. I will kind of put this guy ahead of A tier. Once you unlock these guys, you pretty much want them in your army. They are horrifying. They got magical attacks, really good armor piercing. Only 12 of their entities, or they do cause terror, cause fear, perfect vigor, as well as blessings of the lady. I kind of wish there was a non-flying unit variant. I feel like if there was a non-flying unit, they would probably be better than them. Extremely good though. Next is the mounted yeoman archers, and honestly, they don't do that great. They got good maneuverability, decent range. Look at them real quick. Really decent range. It's just kind of the problem is if they get into melee, that would kind of melt pretty fast. I would rather just have more dismounted archers, really, because you get more archers, more ammunition. You do lose the mobility, but that's not that bad. I mean, even the melee stats aren't too different. So honestly, I'm gonna kind of put these guys at D tier. I don't think they do that well. I'm sorry, I don't think they're that good. And then Wardens of the Montfort, the only difference is they do have a little bit better stats as well as poisoned. I will also say they do have Firewall moving and Vanguard deploy. It's just the problem is they don't do a lot of damage. Like, if they did more damage, they would probably be better. It's just the fact that like I can get more archers for cheaper with better range as well. Actually, yeah, with better range as well. That's kind of the problem. I do like the poison attacks. I definitely think they hit at C tier. They need to do what they have to. I kind of wish they weren't a renowned unit. Next is just the regular field trebuchet, and the field trebuchet has really good firing arc. Except it's not particularly good at sniping out, sadly. They do have decent armor piercing missiles with decent range. I don't really see them as weak. I don't see them as strong either. So I'll kind of put them at C tier, and I'll honestly do the same with the Blessed Trebuchets. The only difference is they don't cause friendly fire damage. They do get magical ammunition though, and no friendly fire, which generally the trebuchets don't friendly fire because they have such a crazy firing arc anyways. They do have a little bit better missile strength. It's just they're not very accurate though. Like they're not hitting their targets constantly. I feel like if they were hitting their targets constantly or they had a better firing rate, I would probably put this at B. We're gonna put them ahead of the other trebuchets. Ahead of the other trebuchet. Ahead of the other trebuchet. There we go. Yep. And this is my opinion, the Bretonnian roster in a nutshell. Amateur cavalry is really good. Infantry is pretty bad, or would argue subpar at best. Some of these guys are stretching into C tier. Decent cheap archers. If you're building Bretonnians, build for the cav. They're a little bit expensive, but they're so good. Of course, if you guys have different opinions where any of these should go, let me know in the comments below. I love to discuss these things. And if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and subscribe for notification when I go live or upload video or do any other shenanigans on YouTube. And of course, hit that bell to actually get notified when I do said shenanigans on YouTube's naughty list.